Hey, y'all, welcome to the Vetted Podcast. I'm Patrick. We have a wonderful clip today. You saw the title. Aaron Rodgers drops a new UFO story. Yes. Okay, so a little backstory real quick before we see the clip. Him and his team are on the new season of Hard Knocks on HBO Max or Max, whatever you're calling it. And on the season finale, there was quite a story in there. And Aaron Rodgers tells a story he's never told before about a UFO sighting he had. It involves some crazy stuff. So let's jump into the clip and see what you think about it. I honestly find this story absolutely fascinating. I'm not going to lie. I'll tell you why. Let's jump in, okay? Here we go.
We had this great dinner at his house in Jersey. I was making my way to bed, and I had like a 5 a.m. wake up. And I was getting down to bed. I heard this alarm in the distance going off. It just didn't seem like normal when I heard some rustling downstairs. So I got up, walked downstairs. It was a beautiful night. And Steve and his brother and I walked outside, and up in the clouds, you know, we heard this sound, and we saw this tremendously large object moving through the sky. And it was like a scene out of Independence Day when the ships are coming into the atmosphere and they're creating this like kind of explosion type fire in the sky.
I'm sorry, what? What? Okay, so Steve and those are teammates of his, right? So they're at this house. They got an early call. They hear some alarm going off. They go outside to see what's going on. And like the movie Independence Day, remember that with a fire in the sky, like coming through? Like, this is nuts, dude. Like, this is nuts, man. What do y'all think of this so far? This is crazy. All right, let's hear more.
We just saw this incredibly large object and froze, as anybody would, because we didn't know what the hell was going on. And eventually it went out of sight, and nobody said a word. We just stood frozen, the three of us, on the front stoop of Steve's house. And about 30 seconds later, we heard the real recognizable sound of fighter jets going shoo, 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 shoo. That seemed to be chasing this object. And again, we just stood there in just disbelief for another few minutes. Nobody said a word. And then we all kind of looked at each other like, did we just see what we think we just saw? What was that? Eventually, 20 minutes later, we kind of wound down a little bit, went back to bed. And then you're still not really sleeping because you just experienced this bizarre experience. We looked in the papers and online the next few days, and there was nothing about it. That got me into researching more about UFOs. The siren or alarm had been from a nuclear power plant, which is about 9 miles away. And if you know anything about UFOs, there's a lot of sightings around nuclear energy, around volcanoes, around power plants. But yeah, Steve and I, great friends, teammates, and also witnessed whatever the hell it was. I don't know, but it was definitely unidentified. It was definitely flying. It was definitely a large object.
That is crazy. I don't know what y'all think. Tell me in the comments, because right away my first reaction is that is absolutely nuts. I do have a lot of questions, but that is nuts. So let's just recap the story basically a little bit, right? So he's with some friends. It's 5 a.m. He goes downstairs because he hears something rustling, whatever, alarm going off. They see this large object, like straight out of Independence Day, creating some sort of fire in the sky coming through. And then some fighter jets come and chase this thing. And they later learned that the alarm was from a nuclear base. That's crazy. So just a few questions right off the bat. Again, this is probably one of the better UFO stories I've heard in a minute. Because Aaron Rodgers is credible, right? I mean, let's just go there first before I get to the question. So, they often say like pilots and stuff, right? Air Force, Navy pilots, they're trained observers, right? You hear that term. Well, you could argue Aaron Rodgers is also a trained observer, right? Looking down the field, spotting little details too. You got to be able to really have wonderful vision, right? And notice different things, right, across a whole field, what's happening. And on top of all the pressure that's going on around you. And he's one of the best to ever do it. So does that make his sighting more credible? I don't know. It's interesting, for sure. But the questions I have are like, well, one, how does he know the fighter jets are chasing that thing? Because, right, how do we know the fighter jets are in response to that alarm? How did he find out that that alarm was from a nuclear base? Because he said it wasn't in the news, or was part of it in the news. Like there was an alarm at the nuclear base, and that's all they talked about, right? But they didn't discuss this large object. And he said him and 2 other people saw it. If it was that big, were there other people around there that also saw this thing? Granted, it's happened in the middle of the night, right? So maybe a lot of people are asleep. But if it was making the kind of noises and everything that's going on, I mean, alarm goes off at a nuclear base, it's waking everybody up, right? So I wonder if they got some calls for it. I mean, that's quite fascinating. I always find it also fascinating when people are like, well, we just stood there and didn't say anything about the whole thing. I don't know. I would be like, do you see that? What is going on? Is that a UFO? Like, but maybe not. I don't know. You know, that's interesting. I guess, yeah, just more details. Someone needs to follow up with Aaron about this and get more details. Sounds genuine to me. Sounds like that's what he saw and experienced, and he's just saying it. Again, we need more stories like this getting out, to be honest with you, right? We need more people talking about this this sort of thing, because if we're not, right, we got to get more sightings like this. This is a huge program, right? Seen by a lot of people. The show has nothing to do with UFOs, but people are feeling more comfortable about coming out with this. And you also heard him say like, oh, it really started to make me look into UFOs. Yeah, that's what happens, right? And maybe that makes him a little more credible too, right? He wasn't some like UFO nut job, He's like, it's a normal guy, maybe had a normal interest in UFOs. Who doesn't at this point? But I feel like he's just observing it neutrally, right? Just taking it for what it is. Not a huge UFO nut, so immediate to think that aliens, but not, so unaware of everything to just to blow that off and go back to bed, right? So kind of a normal reaction, in my opinion, except for the not talking amongst your friends about it. Yeah, they said about 20 minutes of winding down before they went to bed. Is that when they discussed it? What was that thing? How big exactly was it? When you say large object, what does that mean, right? How big exactly? A football field, right? That's what he could describe it as. Like, give us some terms in comparison to a field. Again, how does he know? Which way did it go? Which way did the fighter jets come? Did they come from the same way? Were they going that way? How does he know they were chasing? He said there was 3 of them. Did he actually see them, or he just heard them? Were they in formation? Were they separate? Were they coming from separate, things? Was it the same one making turns and he just thought it was 3? Those sort of things. Like, I'm just curious. Was there any visible part on the object? Like, describe the object a little bit more. Again, in size, color, in conjunction to where it was in the sky and where you're looking at it, and how far away is it from you, right? There's just a lot of questions, follow-up questions for this here, because again, this is a fascinating story. So tell me in the comments, what do you think? Does this seem reputable? I don't know. Again, a lot of people are going to be like, oh yeah, I've had that same sighting. And of course, the nuclear base connection. We did a video unvetted about that too. When I interviewed Nick Pope, we dove deep into that and that connection between the two. So check that out on our YouTube channel. It's a great conversation. And I don't know. I don't think the guy's lying, right? I think it's just a fascinating story, and I would love to just know some more, right? Some more follow-up questions. What are some other good questions about this? I'm sure somebody's going to ask Aaron Rodgers about this more, right? The next interview he does, I hope he gets asked about that and gives more questions. What questions should we ask to find out about this? So, and do you know any other similar stories that are like this? I'd be curious. Please tell me in the comments. Again, whether or not you like Aaron Rodgers or not, you're a sports fan or not, or whatever, like, that's not what I'm interested to hear in the comments. But do you consider him a trained observer, and do you consider this sort of a viable story, or just blow it off, right? Because, look, I've never had an experience. I've never had a UFO experience. Never seen one. Do I want to? Yeah. I've been to a lot of places where I could have, and I just haven't seen anything. I've seen stuff, but then I'm able later to honestly, in the moment, able to identify it. So, because, you'll be on Twitter, y'all. Come on, let's be real. And there's people on there that are having sightings like every day. It's nonsense. Oh, I woke up and I saw this post from, I'm not going to say who it is, but the other day, it was just like, oh, this object was floating outside my window last night. And I had dreams and this and that. It's just like, you look through the stuff and it's happening all the time. It's like, come on. All right. You're just going to lose credibility, in my opinion, with that sort of stuff. But hey, not saying they're lying. I'm just saying it just seems odd. They never pull out a camera. They don't set up a Ring camera to catch this stuff, even though it's happening all the time. So they just want to draw pictures of it. This is fascinating. It's probably why they included it. I'd be curious why they included it in this show as well. Is it because the stigma has been lifted and they just feel comfortable talking about this stuff and they know people want to hear it? Did Aaron Rodgers push to include this and say, hey, I want to talk about this? Did they ask him and he said it and like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let's put that in the show. I'd be curious why they included it. What's their purpose? Is it innocuous or not? But it's absolutely fascinating. So there might be a little bit more to the story. Check out that season finale. This is the clip that I found that the NFL tweeted out. I'll put a link to it so you can watch the video full again if you want. The Twitter link here so you can see this 2.5 minute clip. So anyway, yeah, super fascinating to me, guys. So what do y'all think? Aaron Rodgers, UFO sighting? Holy cow. Again, how many other stories are out there like this that people have just never told? So many. I might argue that the real UFO stuff just never gets heard about. I think you got a lot of attention-seeking people who want to see stuff and tell it, but I think there's a lot of people like him who have seen stuff and just don't want to talk about it. And those are the people I want to hear from, to be honest with you. That is the truth. So, anyway, not trying to dismiss anyone's experience or their personal experience. None of that. I'm not trying to get into that. You do you. So anyway, let us know what you think, guys. Please check out the rest of the videos that we have on the channel. And if you like what you saw today, please leave a like and a comment. That would really help out. It definitely helps out the algorithm, pushes the video more. So again, almost daily videos coming from us. We got a podcast coming out today too that we recorded yesterday with Sebastian from the UK. And we go over a lot of different topics that are happening right now. So check that out. And as always, have a great weekend, guys. I'm Patrick with Vetted. We'll see you guys on the next video. All right, guys. Bye.